Welcome to today's weekly review of Attaining the Worlds Beyond. Today we have Dilys, Tuso, and Godfrey, and we're missing Francis, who will be here next week. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 18. We're going to start the conversation around chapter 18. And chapter 18 is titled The Omnipotent Magician. And it's a great chapter because it starts off with a tale. I'm not going to spoil it because we want you to read the book. So we're going to talk about the tale. I don't know whether someone, maybe Dilys, I know you are so hot with this one. Maybe you just want to summarize what the tale is.
And no, I don't think I'm going to summarize, but I was thinking to myself, perhaps we'll just say the whole story for them because it's such a wonderful story. And then you said, Sheila, that no, we're not going to tell them because they need to read the book. The Omnipotent Magician. And it starts off by telling us that legends are formed by wise people, old wise people that have learned much in their lives, and then it's passed on from generation to generation. And specifically the story, the chapter 18 talks about this is a story for an adult. And so the magician is this all-powerful, beautiful, kind, loving, caring being. And he finds himself alone and he wishes to be with someone. He wants to give of himself and wants to care for someone. And there's no one to care for. And so he starts on his journey of creating what he thinks will bring him this oneness, this care and companionship, this partnership, this friendship. And he starts off by creating a stone. And he goes forward to create the stone, but the stone doesn't respond to him in any kind of way. He pampers it, he loves it, he caresses it, and it's no response. And this brings him to his following desire, which is to make plants and then animals. And I like the fact when he started to speak about the animals and the dog that runs after him, etc. Yet there was still no response similar to his own care and love that he needed. And with that, I think I'm handing over to Thuso.
Thanks, Dilys. I think in all the books of the wisdom of Kabbalah, in all the chapters, in all the books, this is the chapter that actually summarizes the entire wisdom in form of a tale, in form of stories. It actually tells you the journey of our spiritual development from beginning all the way up to the end. So at the end of the day, it speaks only of
So Thuso has frozen, I think, for all of us, yes?
Yes, I think so too.
Which means that I will just finish Thuso's thoughts on the matter. It speaks of the stories that we hear in Kabbalah. And what it is actually telling us about is the deeper relationship with the Creator. So, just to add, this magician then finally decides he needs to create someone that is able to feel him, able to care for him, able to feel that he is alone and is in search for this love. And that's why we then get the creation of man who becomes his partner. But before he becomes his partner and friend, he has to search for him. Gottfried, take it away.
Yeah, this is the most beautiful story. It's the story of return. It's your story, it's my story. It's so beautiful that when I hear it, I try to listen to it again and again. I read it over and over. I mean, one need to read it and ponder about each phrase. For instance, let's talk about the 125 steps or ladders or stage of development in bits. It talks about, I mean, he felt lonely after he had created fan. No, I desire to have somebody else. And he goes through the process of creating. Tell about the story about the children, how beautiful they have imagination. That when they are listening to a legend, they're able to create from their memory, wonderful story. The whole world emerged in the children's story. And this is the story where adults who want to return back to the Creator need to follow the same steps of reading the story and then go back again to it and ponder, contemplate Look at the wonderful words in this wonderful book, Attain the Creator. What a marvelous. For you to go to the pages. Now, what I love most in the page 225, so that from the initial stage, from the beginning to the most advanced stage of 125, this book tells us all about it, that process. And that is where this magician was trying to create, and he feel lonely until eventually the end, where there was total merge, where the two of them, he and the friend, all met. Again, tell about the story of the difficulties, the challenges, the obstacles that is thrown when even have created the being. And that's my story. That is your story. You need to enjoy this story deeper and deeper. It's so wonderful. Sheila.
Okay, so I like to kind of keep things slow because I know we're not going to finish chapter 18 this week anyway. We're going to continue chapter 18 next week. So if we could just get some insight into the tale itself, and then maybe next week we can take it to the next level, because the next level is another aspect of creation and how we connect with the Creator. For me, the just looking at what was created, the creator, well, the magician. Who is the magician here? The magician really is the creator, and the first creation, which is the stone. If you remember last week, we talked about the different level of spiritual development. That element of the stone is the person who has no concept of the creator, clueless. And then the other, when he moves on and say, oh, finally the stone is not responding, then he moves on and created the plants. And that is equivalent to, again, a person who has some kind of response, but not fully able to respond to the Creator's love. Because what did the story say? The vegetables, the plant, only responded when water is given. So in other words, if I feed you, you will like me, but if I don't feed you, you will die. that's the nature of that kind of person. Then the third bit to do with the animals. Well, at least the animal can run around and all that. But then it talks about that is another level of our development. Then eventually created man. Well, it was unique because man was created differently in all of the creation, because the intent of man, he created man specifically for partnership, as it says. And he wanted man to discover him. And that's the entire beginning of a new creation. And on that note, I'm going to hand you back to Delise and see what
I'll just
Delise wants to
add to
say.
that, Sheila, because it is this one paragraph of what you've said. The magician sat and thought. He then realized that in order to have a true friend, he must be someone who would look for the magician, would want him very much, would be like the magician, able to love like him, understand him, resemble him, be his partner, his friend. It would have to be something that was close to him, that understood what he gave him and could reciprocate by giving him everything in return. Magicians also want to love and be loved. Then they would both be content, because it is very sad to be alone. The magician then thought about creating a man.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, I
And
love the
any
way it's
comment?
said, and in its simplicity, it really drives home this inner feeling, this inner desire for those that are on the path, that are searching for the answers, searching to be closer to the Creator, to find ways. It really drives this inner sensation of a joy, of a warmth that comes to you for something that you know deep in your heart that you have been searching for. So.
Yes, precisely. It's when actually we begin this search. This chapter, when you read it, it says that the magician throws his wand, and suddenly you begin to think about him. You begin to think that in this whole vast world, everything that you have seen, you can see the plants, the trees, the rocks, the animals, everything else. You begin to wonder, you begin to long, and you begin to miss him as much as he misses you. That's the point of this entire chapter, that he wants to instill in us the yearning or the hunger to the point where we miss him, that we cannot do anything. We can own the entire world, but we'll still feel that it's not enough. That's what this chapter is talking about, that everything that happens to us in life, it actually pushes us only to that single point where we begin to wonder about the magician, the creator, or the meaning of life. Why are we here? Why we exist? Why we are never fulfilled by all kinds of pleasures that we find in this world. So it's a very, very incredible chapter. I love it. I tell it to everyone I meet, and I really hope it will inspire you to actually share it also with your friends, and can send them the clip also. Godfred.
Yeah, thanks, Yusuf. In fact, it's become my own story. The story I search for the creator. And when I search for him, one moment I'm finding him, the next moment he eludes me. And I yearn for him more, and I connect, and I try to look for him. Again, this is the story of how step by step I'm getting closer to him. The more I study, the more I learn of him, of his qualities, of his love, of the more I have to practice like loving one another. It's the same. That is the story of my return back from a wayward life into a life of bounty, of abundance, of getting collected. Now, when I met him completely, if I'm able to attain the Creator, what a wonderful, what a joyful world. But then before then, there are stages that the book explained. That is, I have to take the steps of connection, the steps of loving one another, the steps of knowing that all of us are in one wonderful world, in unity, because he created all of us in different levels, but we are one. That's a beautiful world, Sheila.
Okay, yes, indeed. So the Creator created man for partnership. But here's another strange thing about this story, is that the Creator let man to get on with whatever they want to get on with. And as usual, we just do whatever is nice to us and forget about how we got here in the first place. But the Creator, the magician, as it says, the magician began to feel more lonely and then lifted one up. The magic one went up, and then suddenly man is awakened and starts looking for something. Doesn't know what he's looking for, but knows that something is missing in his life. And he starts searching. And in truth, for me, the one thing that I find very is an eye-opener in this, because it says that the man began to look for the magician, will see lots and lots of magician images around, knew he was looking for magician, but the magician is also yearning to connect with the man, and the magician then found a way that man will find him and then lead him to a magical book called Zohar. And I could not even begin to tell you that this is exactly how I ended up with my own experience with Dr. Laitman, because the first thing I remember, I was looking all around the place. I've finished, I looked all around the place for different things. Then eventually I found myself in this situation where indeed the book of Zohar was introduced to me. And I thought, what? I thought there was only a Bible. Now you're telling me there is a book called Zohar that can take the light and bring it to you. You know what? I could not run to buy that book. Because I remember bringing the book home and everybody was like, what is this book? I said, this is the book for light. I didn't know. I thought I was going to read the book, understand the book, have the experience like Jacob overnight. And of course, open the book. I started reading it and I realized, what in the world is this book talking about? Because the language was so different and I couldn't wait to put the book down, because at that point, I just remember saying, I'm going to have to find someone to teach me what is in this book, because the language, the way it's written, I could not understand a darn thing. Then I realized somebody has to teach me. But going back to the story, that's exactly how all of us come to spiritual awakening. The magician here is the story of the creator. The creator wants us to have a connection with him and awakens us at some point in time. And sometimes when it awakens us, it's as though our world is dark. It takes away things from us. That's how we feel it. And we feel as if, oh, something terrible has happened, when in fact what is happening is the magician, the creator, waking up and say, I really need you. So at this point, we're going to close, and then next week we'll continue the story. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all next